Hello friends, welcome to Programming Concepts. My name is Amit and this is part 70 of the ASP.NET Core MVC tutorial. In this video, we will talk about what are AddScoped, AddTransient and AddSingleton services in ASP.NET Core MVC. This is a continuation of part 69, Environment Tag Helper. So please watch it before proceeding to this one. I shared the link in the description. I'm assuming you have some basic information about dependency injection because we are going to use a little bit of dependency injection in this video. If you have any confusion around dependency injection, please watch part 21 of this video series. As we know, we have to register services in dependency injection. In ASP.NET Core MVC, there are three different ways to register services with the built-in dependency injection container. And they are AddScoped, AddTransient, and AddSingleton. First, let's talk about AddSingleton. As per the definition, services registered with AddSingleton are created the first time they are requested and then cached for all subsequent requests. This means that the same instance of the service will be used throughout the lifetime of the application. Just like a singleton design pattern where a single instance of a class is created and shared across the entire application. This instance is typically created when the application starts and is kept alive until the application is shut down. Similarly, the AddSingleton service creates a single instance of a class which is shared across the entire application for the lifetime of the application. Let's implement it practically. Let's go to the Visual Studio. And this is the project which we are working on. Let's quickly create a few classes in our project to demo all these services. First, we need a controller for demo purposes. Let's quickly create that. So right click on the controller folder, add controller, then select MVC controller empty, and let me name it service controller. Next, we need to create classes and interfaces to implement some functionality. So right-click on Model, create new class, and let's name it My Service. Next, we need to create one interface. To save time, let me create an interface here only. So public interface My Service Singleton. We will use this interface to demo AddSingleton service. Let's say it has two methods. First, string getMessage. Second, int getCount. Let's inherit My Service class with this interface and implement this interface. Let's create two variables, private int underscore count, private read only, string underscore message. Create constructor, so CTOR tab. Let's initialize underscore count to 0. And let's say message is equal to $ for string interpolation. Service created at within curly braces datetime.now. Within getCount method, return underscore count ++. Within the getMessage method, return underscore message. Extremely simple class. If you look at the constructor, you can see every time a new instance is created, we will get a counter value as 0, and we will also get the time of object creation. Simple, extremely simple. Next, Let's add the service to program.cs class. Builder.services.addSingleton my service singleton, comma, my service. Here we are telling our ASP.NET Core dependency injection container that if any class uses the my service singleton interface, then provide them the object of my service class. And because we use AddSingleton service, we are telling DI container that you don't need to create new instance every time. The same instance will work across application. All right. Next, let's go to the service controller. Create constructor CTOR tab. Let's inject dependency for my service class. So my service singleton, my service singleton. Now this parameter, the my service singleton object, will get the object of my service class. Let's assign this object to a local variable so that we can use it further in our class or controller. Let's create a local variable. So private read only my service singleton underscore my service singleton. And let's assign this object to this local variable. So underscore my service singleton is equal to my service singleton. We are done. Dependency is injected, and going forward we can use this local variable my service singleton in our action methods. Let's use this object in our action method. Let's use viewback to pass these values to our view. So viewback dot singleton message is equal to underscore my service singleton dot get message. Next, viewback dot singleton count is equal to underscore my service singleton dot get count. So we will get the count as well as the date time of object creation. Let's create one view to display this information. So right click, add view, then select tracer view empty, leave the name to index only. Let's quickly display information in this view. So table, class is equal to table, thread, tr, th, scope is equal to column, col, and then hash, another th, scope is equal to col, col, and let's say add singleton. Next, use tbody tag, then tr, then th, scope is equal to row. Type 1 as this is our first row, then td, then at viewback dot singleton message, break line with br, count colon at viewback dot singleton count, and done. Let's go to the program.cs class, change controller to service and action to index. Let's run our program. Let's see what we will get. You can see the service created at this time, and the count is 0. 0 here means it hit our constructor, which means new object is created. Let me refresh the page. You can see time is still the same and the count is not 0. This means we get the same instance. Let me just copy the URL and open it in another tab. You can see the time is same and the count is increasing. This means there is only one object created in the background. Every time we press enter or open the URL new tab, a new fresh HTTP request is generated. And because we used AddSingleton service, the DI container of ASP.NET Core, not creating the new object, it keeps on using the same object. Simple. Let's see what will happen if we try to inject multiple dependency in a single request. I mean, within the same scope or within the same request, how this service will behave. Let's go to Visual Studio and stop the application. Let's inject another dependency within the constructor. So just copy and paste the constructor parameter, variable and local assignment. And let's name them my service singleton 2. Next, copy and paste the viewback code as well. And append 2 in viewback name and service name. So here we requested 2 objects within the constructor and assigned 2 separate local variables to them. Because they are 2 separate variables, ideally it should create 2 separate objects. But as we already discussed, no matter whether the same scope or different scope, same page or different page, if we use AddSingleton, there will only be a single object created. Let's see that. Let's quickly modify our view as well. Just copy and paste tr, change 1 to 2, singleton message 2 and singleton count 2. And that's it. Let's see the behavior. Let's run your application. See, if you look at the time, it is the same. So the constructor is called only once. And also the count is increased. Initially it is 0. And because the same object is used, it increments it to 2 in the next call. If I refresh, you will see time will remain the same and the count will keep on increasing. Simple, extremely simple. Let's go to our slide. Next is AddTransient. Services requested with AddTransients are created each time they are requested. This means that a new instance of the service will be created every time it is needed, and then discarded when it is no longer needed. Simple. AddTransient is exactly the opposite of AddSingleton. With AddSingleton, same object is used, but with AddTransient, no matter what, if you inject the dependency, it will create a new object every time. Let's implement that as well. Let's go to Visual Studio and stop the application. And within my service class, let's create another interface. Just copy and paste the existing one. Change name from iMyServiceSingleton to iMyServiceTransient. And inherit this interface also via myService class. Let's go to Service Controller. Just copy and paste everything one more time and change singleton to transient. So our controller is also ready. Here we are trying to replicate the same behavior with the transient service. Let's modify our view as well. Just copy and paste everything and change singleton to transient. So our view is also ready. Finally, let's go to the program.cs class and tell our DI container that if any page injects the myServiceTransient interface, provide them the object of myService. So builder.services.addTransient myServiceTransient, myService. And that's it. Let's run our application. So you can see the difference in output. When the first request came within AddTransient, the count is set to 0 because the new object is created. Within the same scope, or you can say within the same request as well, DI container creates a new object for AddTransient service. Copy and paste the same URL into the new tab. And you can see the count is still 0. So no matter what, within the same request or different, AddTransient will create a new object and destroy the object once the purpose is over. Or you can say the request is complete. Let's go to our slide. The last one is AddScoped. Services registered with AddScoped are created once per request. This means that the same instance of the service will be used throughout the entire request, but a new instance will be created for each subsequent request. So sometimes you want to use the same object within the same request, or you can say within the same scope, or you can say within the same action method. But if we hit a new HTTP request, we want to create a new object. In such a scenario, we can use AddScoped. Let's go to Visual Studio and stop the application. And within myService class, let's create another interface. Just copy and paste the existing one. Change name from myServiceTransient to myServiceScoped. And inherit this interface also via myService class. Let's go to Service Controller. Just copy and paste everything one more time and change transient to scoped. So our controller is also ready. Here we are trying to replicate the same behavior with scoped service. Let's modify our view as well. Just copy and paste everything and change transient to scoped. So our view is also ready. Finally, let's go to program.cs class and tell our DI container that if any page injects the myServiceScoped interface, provide them an object of myService. So builder.services.addScoped, interface name and service name. And that's it. Let's run our application. So if you carefully observe, and this is a single request, the count for scoped is set to 0. And because we use the same object or inject the same object within the same request, we have the count set to 1. Let's copy and paste the URL to separate tab. Now again, this is a new request. So new object will be created and the count is set to 0 again. We inject the same object within the same request and we have the count set to 1. On the other hand, for transient, it is always 0. And for singleton, there is only one object created, so the count keeps on increasing. Simple, extremely simple. So that's it from this video. Hope you like our content. If you have any queries related to the content of this video, do ask me in the comments. Till then, thanks for watching.